Welcome to this training series on Article 81 guardianship. In this series, you'll be learning more about guardianship in a medical setting, and this video will focus on alternatives. I'm Dina Schwartz, Chief Initiatives Officer at Project Guardianship. Our organization provides person-centered care for older adults and individuals living with disabilities and mental illness who need help making decisions. We also provide education, do research, and advocate for better policies and practices inside and outside the guardianship system. For more information about us, please go to projectguardianship.org.
I'm Jasmine Ramig, Training and Education Staff Attorney at Project Guardianship. In this video, we'll be discussing some alternatives to guardianship, including formal supports, including legal tools like powers of attorney and healthcare proxy, formal services like home care and representative payee programs, and informal supports such as older adult centers and home-delivered meals. Guardianship takes away a patient's right to make some or all of their own decisions and must be used as a last resort to aid a patient with unmet needs. The law specifically requires all less restrictive alternatives be explored before a court can appoint a guardian. Before we go over some of these alternatives, we want to highlight that access to these tools depend on a lot of factors, like a patient's social network, transportation, and finances, just to name a few. Alternatives also may not be effective due to abuse. For example, a power of attorney agent can use that document to take away a patient's money, or a healthcare agent can make decisions going against the patient's wishes. As we mentioned in our first module, some patients may appear to have difficulty in making decisions when in fact they simply need communication accommodations. Consider using accommodations like alphabet boards, sign language, or written information. Also, consider alternative ways of presenting information to a patient, like having multiple shorter conversations instead of one long conversation. Let's discuss some tools for making medical decisions. A healthcare proxy allows a patient to name someone who can make medical decisions on their behalf if they become unable to do so. A healthcare agent can only make decisions if the patient becomes medically incapacitated. If the patient regains capacity, a healthcare agent can no longer make decisions for the patient. The agent must follow the known wishes and values of the patient. Sometimes a patient may add extra language or attach a second page to a healthcare proxy listing their wishes. If a patient is physically unable to sign a healthcare proxy, they can direct someone else to sign it on their behalf in their presence, as long as that person is not the healthcare agent named in the document. New York State Department of Health has a healthcare proxy form that includes instructions on how to fill it out. It is available in multiple languages, including Spanish, Russian, and Yiddish. A patient can also make a living will to express their healthcare preferences, including end-of-life care. Unlike a healthcare proxy, a living will doesn't name a specific person to make decisions for a patient. Instead, a living will simply serves as evidence of a patient's wishes to inform whomever is making medical decisions. A living will can be particularly useful when a patient doesn't have someone they trust to appoint as a healthcare agent. Medical professionals can also help a patient complete a medical order for life-sustaining treatment, or MOLST. The document is generally intended for patients with serious health conditions. Consider asking the patient to complete a MOLST if they want to avoid some or all life-sustaining treatment, they live in a long-term care facility, and/or they may pass away within a year. If a medically incapacitated patient does not have a healthcare proxy and a medical decision needs to be made, consult the Family Healthcare Decisions Act. The Act outlines a list of surrogate decision makers in order of priority, including spouses, adult children, parents, and adult siblings.
There are also a variety of tools available to help a patient manage their finances and benefits. The first tool we'll look at is a power of attorney, abbreviated as POA. A POA allows a patient to give someone else permission to handle their finances and/or property, and that person is called the agent. Most people choose the type of POA that continues even if they lose capacity, and this is called a durable power of attorney. It's important to ask for a copy of the document to check if it's durable. The patient can decide which powers to give their agent, which may include paying a hospital bill, managing insurance claims, and applying for government benefits. But remember that a POA does not allow an agent to make healthcare decisions. Now, there's a misconception that when a patient signs a power of attorney, that they're giving up their own ability to manage their finances. But that's not true. They're also not giving away their money and property to the agent. They're simply giving the agent permission to handle these matters. And a person with a POA can continue to make these decisions for themselves if they want to, as long as they have the capacity to do so. So when choosing a POA agent, it's important that the patient trusts them. A POA agent has a lot of power. They're able to take actions without asking the patient's permission, although note that they must act according to the patient's directions or wishes. A POA becomes effective as soon as it's fully signed by the patient, their agent, and is also notarized. You may have patients who are physically unable to sign a power of attorney, even though they mentally understand it and can consent to it. The law allows a person to choose someone to sign it on their behalf, as long as the person signing is not also the agent named in the document. If the patient is eligible for Medicaid, they can designate a representative to apply for or manage their benefits without actually needing a POA document. The patient can fill out a form to choose a representative if they already have Medicaid, or they can choose a representative when they apply for Medicaid for the first time. If a patient's unable to manage benefits from Social Security or the VA, or doesn't wish to do so, they can designate a representative payee to receive and manage those benefits on their behalf. If the patient doesn't have someone to fill this role, Social Security may be able to choose a qualified organization to act as representative payee. Some pension plans also offer a similar tool, so the patient can contact their pension administrator to find out if this is an available option. A trust could help the patient manage and protect their assets as well. The patient's property is placed in a trust, which is managed by a trustee, who would then use the money to meet the needs of the patient according to a trust agreement. Certain types of trusts can also be used to qualify patients for Medicaid. But this is a complicated area of law, and patients should seek advice from an expert.
If a patient is being discharged home, there are many options to meet their needs in the community. The patient may be eligible for home care services. Older adult centers can provide socialization, connect people to services, and some provide food and access to social workers. Home-delivered meals and grocery delivery can benefit a patient with limited mobility. Friends, family, and faith communities can also come together to support a patient's needs. A patient can be linked with community-based case management programs. This is a collaborative process that links people in need with systems of care across different settings. Resources and services can include connecting patients to health insurance, employment, legal services, transportation, and housing. Case managers do not provide services directly to patients, but act as a liaison and facilitator with service providers. Legal aid organizations can help a patient apply for benefits, find housing, handle immigration concerns, and solve insurance disputes. If a patient is facing housing instability, many of these organizations have eviction and foreclosure prevention programs. There are many tools to help support patients with mental health and/or substance use issues. For example, supportive housing provides a place to live with services on site to aid a patient in recovery. Mobile crisis teams can aid patients experiencing mental health crisis. Mobile crisis teams are comprised of health professionals from various backgrounds who respond to patients in the community. The goal is to provide immediate support and avoid hospitalization if possible. Assertive community treatment programs, known as ACT teams, also provide treatment to patients in the community. ACT teams take a holistic approach to patients with serious mental illness and can provide life skills training, family education, and peer support in addition to mental health treatment. The goal is to integrate patients into the community so that they become more independent. Thanks for joining us for this video. Before you go, here are some key takeaways. Since guardianship takes away a patient's right to make some of their own decisions, it should be used as a last resort. Before a guardian can be appointed for a patient, all less restrictive options must be explored. Alternatives can be formal, like setting up a trust, signing a power of attorney, or deferring to applicable laws. Alternatives can also be more informal, like having lunch at a senior center, socializing with family and friends, and home grocery delivery. If you have more questions about Article 81 guardianship or these alternatives, please reach out to our helpline. We provide information to the public as well as professionals and are available by phone, email, and online.